The city of Detroit has burned before. Factories, fortunes, and entire neighborhoods reduced to dust. But one fire never made the newspapers. A silent war, fought in back rooms, garages, and alleyways. A war that shaped the future of America's most important industry, while the rest of the nation never knew it happened. Tonight, we reopen a case buried for nearly a century. A war between two mafia empires that carved up the Motor City long before the unions, long before the corporations, and long before Detroit became the heartbeat of the American dream. This is the forgotten Mafia War of Detroit. Stay with me for the next 20 seconds, because what you're about to learn rewrites the history of America's most powerful city. Hit the like button, subscribe, and let's step into the shadows where the Motor City was really built. Detroit in the 1920s wasn't just the sound of engines roaring down Woodward Avenue. It was the soft click of a revolver being cocked in a speakeasy hallway. It was the quiet tap on a diner window that meant the men outside weren't there for coffee. Detroit was booming, and every boom brings predators. Two names dominated the underworld, the Ginola brothers and the Vitali family. To the public, they were grocers and businessmen. Behind the curtain, they were architects of an empire that smuggled Canadian whiskey across the river by the barrel and protected it with bullets. The war didn't start with a gunfight. It started with envy. Carlo Ginola watched the Vitalis tighten their grip on the speakeasies near Winewood. The liquor that flowed there made a fortune so vast that even Henry Ford would have raised an eyebrow. The Ginolas wanted a piece. The Vitalis refused. And in a mafia world, refusal is the spark before the bomb. The first assassination was quiet, too quiet. A Vitali lieutenant found slumped in his car near the Ambassador Bridge, engine still warm, cigar still burning. No witnesses, no sound, a professional touch. The response was louder. A Genoma courier gunned down in the middle of Eastern Market on a Saturday morning. Families fled behind produce stands while the echo of the shots bounced off the brick walls. Detroit was now a battlefield, clean on the surface, bleeding underneath. But there was something unique about this war. Unlike Chicago, where the gunmen bragged their names into history, Detroit's killers were ghosts, whispers, not legends, shadows, not celebrities. They hid because exposure meant ruin, not from the police, but from the auto industry. Mob money was already creeping into the factories, gambling dens disguised as tool sheds, union halls with backroom agreements that had nothing to do with worker rights. Both families saw the same opportunity. Whoever controlled the docks controlled the whiskey. Whoever controlled the whiskey controlled the labor. And whoever controlled the labor controlled Detroit. One man understood this better than anyone. Salvatore "the Sledge" Cosentino, a former blacksmith from Sicily who built a reputation not just on violence, but on strategy. The Sledge was the first to realize that unions were the new battlefield. He saw factories not as workplaces, but as fortresses with thousands of soldiers waiting for a leader. He chose to be that leader. The Sledge didn't pick sides in the Ginola-Vitali feud. He manipulated both. He offered protection to the Ginolas. He offered muscle to the Vitales, and he took cash from both with the same pair of iron hands. But power attracts bullets. And in 1925, the war reached its breaking point. A single night changed everything. A warehouse near Fort Street, a shipment of whiskey worth more than most men would earn in a lifetime. Both families believed they owned it. Both families sent their best crews to guard it. Nobody expected the other to arrive. When the trucks pulled in, headlights cutting through the fog, 20 men realized they'd walked into a trap. though no one knew who said it. Some said the first shot was accidental. Others said it was the Sledge himself, hiding in the rafters, igniting the war he'd been quietly engineering for years. What we know is this: Detroit woke up to the sound of sirens. 9 men dead, 7 wounded. Whiskey crates smashed open, the smell of liquor spreading across the floor like gasoline. The next morning, every newspaper talked about gangsters in Chicago, and none mentioned Detroit. This silence was intentional. The city fathers feared the truth that the men who controlled its underworld were slipping into the boardrooms, union offices, and factory gates that powered the nation. After the warehouse massacre, federal agents flooded the city. The war that had been fought in whispers was suddenly exposed to daylight. The Vitalis were the first to fall. Their leaders were arrested, deported, or simply vanished, some say into the river, where their bones remain locked in silt. The Genolas lasted longer, but not much. The Sledge, the man who played both sides like a master violinist, survived every ambush. He never went to prison. He never admitted a thing. He died in his bed at 73 years old, surrounded by his grandchildren. A respectable businessman, on paper. But his legacy lived on. Because here's the part history books never mention. The Sledge wasn't just a mob strategist. He became one of the first power brokers of Detroit's labor movement. He placed his men inside factories, unions, trucking companies. Those men didn't wear suits, they wore coveralls, but they owed their loyalty to only one man. For decades, Detroit's economy throbbed to the rhythm of engines built by workers who never knew their shop steward answered to a man from the old country. The forgotten Mafia war wasn't forgotten because it was small. It was forgotten because it was successful. The families stopped killing each other and started making money together. Quietly, efficiently, permanently. Like all Mafia stories, there's a final twist. Years later, FBI wiretaps revealed the truth. The Genola and Vitali feud had never really ended. Their descendants weren't shooting each other in the streets. They were fighting in contracts, in bids, in negotiations worth millions. The war simply changed shape. Detroit's Mafia didn't disappear. It evolved, just like the city itself. From bootleggers to businessmen, from bullets to boardrooms. And that is why the forgotten Mafia war matters, because it didn't just build the Motor City, it defined it. If you want more true crime stories that uncover the hidden wars behind America's greatest cities, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and join us next week as we step into another shadow that history tried to erase. The streets never forget, and neither do we.